Welcome back to the deep dive where we want to know grifter or gifted.
Right.
And today
Yeah.
we are diving into the life and career of Lori Loughlin.
Lori Loughlin.
You probably know her as Aunt Becky
Yeah.
from Full House, maybe for those heartwarming Hallmark Christmas movies.
Of course. But you can't really ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
That's the 2019 college admissions scandal
Right.
that landed her behind bars.
Yes. So is she a talented actress who made a terrible mistake
Right.
or a master manipulator who used her charm to get ahead?
It's the question.
We've got a mountain of sources.
Okay.
Articles, court documents,
Wow.
award show,
Hmm.
recaps, even some recent interviews to
Interesting.
help us untangle this messy web.
Yeah.
We're not just focusing on what happened,
Mm.
but also how public perception of her has shifted over time.
Exactly. We're examining the motives, the actions, the consequences,
Right.
and ultimately trying to understand if this is someone who is genuinely trying to make amends or just carefully crafting a redemption story for personal gain.
Okay, let's set the stage.
Okay.
The Varsity Blues scandal was a bombshell.
Huge. Yeah.
Wealthy parents, including CEOs, actresses,
Mm-hmm.
and even a fashion designer.
Don't forget the coaches.
Oh yeah, the coaches too.
They were all caught red-handed,
Yeah.
bribing their kids' way into elite colleges.
It was a massive scheme orchestrated by Rick Singer.
It was. He was the mastermind.
He helped students cheat on standardized tests,
Mm-hmm.
fabricated athletic profiles.
He even bribed college officials.
Wow.
There was a whole system designed to give wealthy kids an unfair advantage.
And Lori Loughlin and her husband, Massimo Giannulli,
Right.
were right in the middle of it.
They were.
They paid a whopping $500,000
A lot of money.
to get their daughters into USC as crew recruits.
Wow.
The catch:
What's the catch?
neither girl had ever rowed crew.
Oh, wow.
They even went as far as to stage photos of them on rowing machines
Really?
to make the application more convincing.
Wow, that's something else.
And initially, Lori pleaded not guilty,
Okay.
claiming she believed the payments were legitimate donations to the school.
That's where it gets interesting.
Yeah,
Did she truly believe that?
right.
Or was it a calculated move to try and distance herself from the scandal?
Remember, a lot of other parents involved, including actress Felicity Huffman, took plea deals and admitted their guilt.
Right.
Lori and her husband, however, dug in their heels.
Interesting. And that decision
Yeah.
really impacted how the public viewed them.
Right.
It seemed like they were trying to use their wealth and privilege to
Yeah.
fight the charges, to avoid facing the consequences of their actions.
Yeah, it's almost like they thought they were above the law, or at least believed they could play by a different set of rules.
Right. And that arrogance really fueled the public backlash.
Oh, yeah.
People were outraged, not just by the crime itself, but by the sense of entitlement
Right.
that seemed to underpin it.
Yeah.
But eventually the walls closed in.
The prosecutors presented damning evidence, including those staged rowing photos.
Oh, wow.
The judge called their actions disgraceful
Yeah.
and sentenced them both to prison.
Wow.
Lori for 2 months, Massimo for 5.
Okay.
It was a major fall from grace.
It was.
Lori's career went into free fall.
Mhm.
Brands dropped her.
Yeah.
Hallmark severed ties, and her once sparkling reputation was tarnished.
Yeah.
But then a curious thing happened.
Oh.
After serving her sentence, Lori began a carefully orchestrated comeback.
Okay.
She starred in a faith-based Western called Birthright Outlaw
Okay.
and even won a Movie Guide Grace Prize
Wow.
for a Hallmark Christmas movie, A Christmas Blessing.
Interesting.
Movie Guide, as you know, is known for promoting films
Right.
with strong Christian values.
It was a strategic move.
It was.
Targeting a specific audience
Right.
that might be more receptive to a redemption story.
Yeah, and to some extent it worked.
Okay.
There were positive comments on social media,
Mm-hmm.
people expressing happiness to see her back on screen.
But it also raised questions.
Of course.
Was this genuine remorse?
Right.
A sincere desire to make amends?
Yeah.
Or was it a calculated attempt to rehabilitate her image
Right. So
and rebuild her career?
there were interviews where she talked about faith, forgiveness, and second chances.
Mm-hmm.
She even appeared in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Oh, really?
a show known for its cynical humor.
It's a fascinating mix of choices.
It is.
On one hand, you have these projects that align with traditional values, themes of redemption and family.
Right.
And on the other, you have this self-aware, almost ironic appearance on a show that satirizes Hollywood and its hypocrisies.
Right. It makes you wonder what her true motivations are.
Yeah,
Is she trying to appeal to both sides, hedging her bets?
right.
Or is she simply taking whatever opportunities come her way, regardless of how they might be perceived.
And then, of course, there's the Rick Singer factor.
Right.
The mastermind behind the whole scandal is now out of prison
Yeah.
and planning to launch a new business helping students navigate the college admissions process legally.
Which to some just proves that nothing has really changed.
Right.
The system is still rigged in favor of the wealthy, and the guy who exploited it
Yeah.
is now positioning himself as an expert to help others do the same, albeit within the confines of the law.
It raises an interesting question.
It does.
Can someone who masterminded such a massive scheme genuinely reform?
Right.
Or is this just another way to capitalize on the very system he manipulated?
And how does Lori Loughlin's story fit into all of this?
Right.
Is she a victim of Singer's manipulations?
Mm-hmm.
A well-intentioned but misguided parent who made a terrible mistake?
Or was she a willing participant,
Right.
someone who actively sought out and embraced his unethical methods to advance her own daughter's futures?
Right.
These are the questions we're grappling with as we try to answer that central question: grifter or gifted?
It's a complex case with no easy answers.
It is.
But by examining the evidence, the choices, the consequences, and the public's reaction,
right.
we can start to piece together a more nuanced understanding of who Lori Loughlin is and what her story tells us about the world we live in. It feels like we're seeing two different Lori Loughlins here.
Yeah.
In one corner, you have Aunt Becky, the beloved sitcom mom,
Mm-hmm.
the queen of Hallmark Christmas,
Right.
and then there's the woman who went to prison
Yeah.
for a pretty blatant scheme to game the college admissions system.
Exactly. And that's where things get complicated.
Right.
It's not like she was caught stealing a loaf of bread.
Right.
This was about using her wealth and privilege to
Mhm.
give her daughters an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
That's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow,
It is.
especially those who are struggling to afford college for their own kids.
You've got to wonder, though,
Yeah.
if this whole redemption arc is genuine
Right.
or just a clever way to rebuild her brand.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the projects she's choosing.
Mm-hmm.
Faith-based films, family-friendly content.
Right.
It feels very calculated, doesn't it?
It's certainly strategic. Yeah.
She's targeting an audience that might be more receptive to her message of forgiveness and second chances.
Right.
And it seems to be working, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
Those Movie Guide awards the positive comments on her Hallmark movies.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests there's a segment of the population that's
Right.
willing to embrace her again.
But what about those who feel she hasn't truly owned up to what she did?
Right.
The people who believe she got off easy with a light sentence
Yeah.
and a quick return to the spotlight?
Their feelings are valid, too.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of injustice when you see someone with wealth and privilege seemingly escaping the full consequences of their actions.
Right.
And it raises bigger questions about our justice system
Yeah.
and how it treats people differently based on their social standing.
It's almost like this entire case is a microcosm
Yeah.
of all the things that are wrong with the system.
Right.
We've got privilege, corruption, a rigged game that favors the wealthy.
And a media landscape that's quick to forgive and forget,
Right.
especially when there's a compelling redemption narrative to latch onto.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
And I think the most important question for you as you process all of this is this.
Yeah.
What does this story tell you about our values as a society?
Right.
Are we truly committed to fairness and accountability?
Yeah.
Or are we more easily swayed by celebrity and the illusion of redemption?
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.
And it leaves us with this lingering question.
Okay.
Can someone like Lori Loughlin truly change?
Right.
Or will she always be defined by the choices she made?
Yeah.
Only time will tell.
I guess we'll see.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Of course.
Until next time.